Welcome to an exploration of Moscow that you've never seen before. Forget the glossy travel brochures, the iconic Red Square, and the pristine streets around the Kremlin. Today, we're diving into the hidden side of Moscow, the places and stories that the mainstream doesn't show you. This is the Moscow they don't want you to see. The myth and reality of Moscow. When most people think of Moscow, images of grandeur come to mind: majestic cathedrals with golden domes, the imposing Kremlin walls, and vibrant cultural life. But behind the polished facade lies a city full of contrasts, where the old and new, rich and poor, glamorous and gritty, coexist in surprising ways. In 2024, Moscow is a city of paradoxes. It's a place where modern skyscrapers tower over Soviet-era apartment blocks, and luxury cars cruise alongside aging Ladas. But beyond the surface, there's a side of Moscow that's rarely talked about, a side that tells a different story, one of struggle, resilience, and the true spirit of its people. Number 1. The forgotten neighborhoods. Let's start our journey in the forgotten neighborhoods of Moscow. These are the areas that don't make it onto the tourist maps, the sprawling outskirts where the city's industrial past and present collide. Here, old factories stand abandoned, their rusting frames a stark reminder of the Soviet era's industrial might. In districts like Kapotnia and Pachotniki, you'll find rows of Khrushchevka's Soviet-era apartment buildings that were once symbols of progress. Today, they're crumbling, their concrete facades worn by decades of neglect. Yet, these neighborhoods are alive with history and stories of the people who call them home. Residents here face a daily struggle, living in apartments that haven't been renovated since the 1960s. The infrastructure is failing, with broken elevators, leaking roofs, and playgrounds that have seen better days. But there's a strong sense of community. Neighbors look out for one another, sharing what little they have. In this Moscow, survival is a collective effort. Number 2. The hidden markets. Now, let's move on to the hidden markets of Moscow, where the city's true economic heart beats. Far from the glitzy shopping malls and high-end boutiques, these markets are where everyday Muscovites shop for their essentials. At places like Cherkizovsky and Lublino markets, you'll find everything from fresh produce to counterfeit designer goods. The atmosphere is chaotic. Stalls crammed together, vendors shouting out deals, and the scent of spices mingling with the aroma of street food. It's here that you get a sense of the hustle and bustle that defines daily life for many in Moscow. These markets are also a melting pot of cultures. Moscow has always been a magnet for people from all over the former Soviet Union and beyond, and you can see this diversity in the faces of the market vendors and the goods they sell. It's a side of Moscow that's vibrant, alive, and very different from the sanitized image often portrayed. Number 3. The underground scene. Beneath the surface of Moscow's official culture lies an underground scene that thrives in the shadows. This is the Moscow of underground clubs, art collectives, and alternative lifestyles. A world where young people push back against the conservative norms that have taken hold in recent years. The city's underground is a response to the increasing control over public life in Russia. In places like the Basmany and Tverskoy districts, you'll find hidden venues that host everything from avant-garde theater to electronic music nights. These spaces are often short-lived, moving from one location to another to avoid the authorities. But they're hubs of creativity, where ideas are exchanged, and new cultural movements are born. Artists, musicians, and writers gather here to express themselves in ways that aren't possible in the mainstream. The work they produce often critiques the status quo, offering a voice to those who feel marginalized in modern Russia. It's a side of Moscow that's rebellious, innovative, and fiercely independent. Number 4. The struggles of the new generation. As we continue our journey, it's important to talk about the struggles of Moscow's new generation. The city's youth are growing up in a world where opportunities are limited, and the future is uncertain. Despite the image of Moscow as a city of endless possibilities, many young people find themselves trapped in a cycle of low-paying jobs, expensive housing, and little hope for advancement. Education is one of the few pathways to success, but even here, the system is riddled with challenges. Public universities are underfunded, and the quality of education varies widely. Many students take on multiple jobs to make ends meet, leaving them exhausted and disillusioned. For those who do manage to graduate, finding a good job is a struggle in an economy that's increasingly dominated by connections rather than merit. Yet, this generation is not without hope. They're tech-savvy, resourceful, and determined to carve out their own space in the world. Many are turning to entrepreneurship, using social media and digital platforms to build businesses that bypass traditional barriers. It's a story of resilience in the face of adversity, a testament to the indomitable spirit of Moscow's youth. Number 5. The environmental crisis. Finally, let's address an issue that's becoming increasingly impossible to ignore: the environmental crisis facing Moscow. The city's rapid development has come at a cost, with pollution levels rising and green spaces disappearing under the pressure of new construction. The Moscow River, once the lifeblood of the city, is now heavily polluted. Industrial waste, untreated sewage, and runoff from the streets have turned the water into a toxic soup. Air quality is also a major concern, especially in the winter when the city's heating systems pump out smoke and soot into the atmosphere. But there's a growing movement to fight back. Environmental activists are organizing to raise awareness and push for change. They're small in number, but their voices are getting louder. From protests against illegal deforestation in Moscow's parks to campaigns for cleaner air, these activists are challenging the narrative that nothing can be done. They're showing that even in the face of overwhelming odds, it's possible to make a difference. This is the Moscow they don't want you to see: real, raw, and unfiltered. Thanks for joining us on this journey. If you found this video eye-opening, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, keep exploring the world with an open mind. Goodbye from Moscow.